Welcome to another edition of Journey of Hope. Stories of people who share their journey of life, while they've encountered some kind of a difficulty, some kind of a challenge, a medical crisis, some kind of trauma or cancer. Our special guest today is from Riverside, California, Clyde Marsh. Clyde, we're glad to have you here.
Thanks, Lynn.
We've got people from around the world that are watching, and we want to hear about your story. But just so our listening audience can know a little bit more about you, tell us where you're from and where you began your education and so forth.
Well, I was born in Riverside, California, 75 years ago.
75 years ago, last century.
And I'm still here. I'm not the kind that adventures out very far, so Riverside is still home.
So you were born in Riverside and lived there all of your life.
All my life.
Tell us about your schooling and tell us a little bit about your family.
Well, I went to elementary school that is now kind of a big vacant lot. Junior high school was modified, but it's changed a lot too. And my old high school, Riverside Poly High School, is now Riverside City College.
So you're telling me that everything has changed.
Everything after I left, they changed it.
They changed it, okay. So when you finished high school?
Went to Cal Poly at San Luis Obispo and majored in architecture.
At Cal Poly?
Cal Poly.
Okay.
Before they opened the Pomona campus.
Okay. And you were there for the 4 years?
I was there for 4 years and plus a year, because I missed a year. My dad had a heart attack, and I took a year off and joined him in the business. Well, he was in the hospital, I was doing the business. And that lasted for a year, and then I went back to school and finished up.
Now, you talk about your dad. What did your mom and dad do? He had some kind of a business.
My dad was in the construction business. He was a general building contractor, and he did that for 50 years in Riverside. So even today, 30, 40 years after I closed the business, my dad's name is still the premier home builder in Riverside.
So now, but you got a degree. What was your degree in?
Architectural engineering.
Architectural engineering. So when your dad got sick, and what happened to him when he got sick?
Well, he had a massive heart attack, and that was in his about mid-50s, as I recall. And so I ended up, my dad had signed a nice big contract for a big medical center in Riverside with about, there must have been 50 doctors in it, and it's like, there was a state of panic with all those doctors when a 19-year-old was coming to build their facilities.
So you were the lead guy on the whole project then?
I was the lead guy.
Well, you're talking about a pretty big building then.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and you took a year off, or?
I just said, hey, I'm leaving school until I can get it done. And we got it finished up, and everybody was happy with it.
Now, you said your dad had a massive heart attack.
Yep.
Did it take his life?
No, it did not.
Okay.
Had a good doctor, kept him around for 40 more years.
Oh, really?
So
okay.
Not too bad.
So you filled in for that project and the better
Yeah.
part of a year then.
Yeah.
Went back to school and graduated. And then after graduation, what?
Joined the business.
With the family?
With the family. My brother and sister are twins. And
Younger or older?
3 years younger.
Okay.
I'm the old one. I'm the senior one in the family.
You're the firstborn then.
That's
okay.
right. So I guess I get first birthrights,
yes,
right?
Well, I understand some of the characteristics now, okay?
So anyway, I decided, well, I want to be in the construction business. I wasn't going to be over a drafting table. That's back when we did T-squares and triangles.
Wow.
We didn't have computers and all that stuff. And
so you were right at the grassroots level.
I was right at the bottom floor.
Okay.
And so, anyway, decided I wanted to be in this construction business. I wanted to be outdoors. I didn't want to be stuck in an office. So I joined the construction business and
with your dad?
With my dad.
Okay.
And I became the gopher. You know, we did a lot of work down at Murrieta Hot Springs. You may know where that is.
Yeah.
And that was when the Gunthers used to own it. When
okay,
it was,
that's just south of here
it's
for our listening audience.
About 40 miles south, and it was a hot spring spa, and a lot of the Jewish community came down there during the winter season to get away from their cold climates, and would come down there and sit in the mud and the hot water and all of that and play golf and everything. And we had signed a big contract with them.
To do?
With the Gunthers.
Okay, but what were you going to do?
We were going to build a new clubhouse and administration building.
Okay.
Big building, and we did a lot of their living facilities. They're quarters for the people to stay when they would come. And they came from all over the world there, which made it an interesting community, to say the least. Kind of like Loma,
Yeah.
right? All over the world. And it was just a delightful experience doing that. And I had a crew of about 30 people that were, you know, that I had to take care of and be sure that they had all their materials every day. And I'd go in and sit inside in the cool temperature in the summertime, and I would work on making material lists and all of that kind of thing for the employees.
So how long, I mean, how long would a job like that last?
Year and a half, 2 years.
Year and a half to
Yeah.
2 years. Okay, so you were
So
down there.
I did that and kind of got started in that, and then ended up with a little architecture here and there because somebody would want, you know, a laundromat or something else, and I would do that and design apartments and so on. So anyway, I got to dabble in that a little bit, but still I wanted to be outside. That was my goal.
So did most of your business while you were working there with your father and in the business, was it working outside most of the time?
Most of the time.
Well, that's what you wanted.
That was my preference and all that kind of
Good.
stuff.
Now, you said your dad suffered a heart attack. Any other heart problems in the family?
No.
And how about you and your heart?
Fine.
Everything's fine, so it didn't get passed down.
No.
Okay.
I decided to get cancer instead.
Well, it's all a matter of choice, I guess. Yeah.
You know, hey, you had that. I don't want to copy you. I'll get something different.
You got to
So,
have something different. Well, tell us a little bit now. You've mentioned about getting this cancer, but you already had cancer in the family, from what if I remember correctly.
Oh, okay. Not at that point in time. That
Yes.
came much later.
Okay.
And that was like about 3 years ago. My wife got breast cancer. And my sister didn't have it. My brother didn't have it. So I kind of started something that they said, what have you brought on the family? Well, guess what? I'm the older one, guys. I get to bring it on.
You got to lead the way.
Somebody's
now
got to introduce it.
Tell us about your wife, because she, if I remember correctly, she had the breast cancer before you were diagnosed with cancer.
No. I was diagnosed first.
Oh, were you?
But I was put on hold because my PSA wasn't high enough.
All right.
Don't you love that?
You just had a little teeny bit of cancer. So, well, I think for our listening audience, you need to our listening audience needs to realize that when you're diagnosed, if you have an early stage, even prostate cancer, you can, rather than watch and wait, you can be involved in what we prefer to say active surveillance, where you're kind of monitoring it. So you were diagnosed, and apparently, do you remember what your Gleason was at that point?
I don't know about the Gleason, but the PSA was down at 5.
It was at a 5. Well, if you didn't do anything about it, it was probably a Gleason of 3+3, which is an early stage.
Yep.
And so, was there a particular reason why you didn't do anything about it?
Because Dr. Mantic, you may remember that name, he came from Palm Springs.
Yes.
And was kind of working here for part-time.
He was one of our doctors.
He said, you know, I spent my 2.5 hours on an interview with him, and he said, if I were you, I would watch and wait. Now, that was the terminology.
Sure.
3 years ago.
Right.
And I said, okay. And he said, well, just keep an eye on it. So get your PSA done every so often, and then bring it in, you know, send it over, and we'll evaluate it. Well, when it finally got over 10, then they called and said, it's time to come over and see us.
Okay, so apparently, you know, the doctor looked at and he said, looked at all your records and said, you're one of those individuals that probably can do active surveillance or watch and wait. And by saying watch and wait, we don't mean just to ignore it, but to watch and kind of keep track of it, monitoring it. And because some people think about it, you know, they get a checkup and then 2 or 3 years later they think, hey, maybe I go back and see what it is, and it's been climbing. The difficulty, and even with early stage, is we don't know which cancer is going to be aggressive. We don't have any markers yet to determine which ones are going to be more aggressive and more active. So because you were in active surveillance or watching and waiting, then it was at the same time that your wife was diagnosed.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, how did it affect you when you were diagnosed?
I just thought, I don't know why, but you know something, I'm going to Loma Linda. I didn't even check it out.
So because you lived in the area, you knew about Loma Linda.
I knew about Loma Linda. I heard all the ads on the radio, and I said, I'm just going to Loma Linda.
Now, of course, we treat prostate cancer in a number of different ways here.
Yes.
But you were hearing the ads on the radio apparently for the proton therapy.
Yep.
Well, I want to come back to your wife now, because you were in watching and waiting, but then she is diagnosed.
That's right.
And how did this make how did this impact the family? Because cancer is a family. If you're a couple, I say prostate cancer is a couple's disease. But if you get cancer, it's a family. The whole family is involved. So
Well,
you got how many children?
we had 2 boys.
Two boys
at that time.
At that time, and are they where are they living now?
One lives in Indio, and the other one passed away a couple years ago.
Okay,
And he had cerebral. He was born with cerebral palsy.
Okay.
But he lasted almost 50 years. So
Which
he
is
didn't do too bad for a
not too
CP
bad,
patient.
right? Must have been the patient. Must have been the parents that were really taking good care of him. So I want to get back to this matter of your wife being diagnosed. How did this impact you?
I said, hey, I'm working with my thing, and we'll get through this together. And we just said, we didn't go along with all the doctors. You know, the doctors, well, it's going to be chemo. And we just said, no, there's alternatives that maybe will help us out. So we did a lot of investigation. Both
Well,
for mine
and, you know,
for
the
hers.
doctors, you know, they sometimes will give you the diagnosis. Now, again, want to emphasize when you get cancer, it's a diagnosis.
Yep.
It's not a death sentence. It's
That's
a
right.
diagnosis. And in this particular case, it was breast cancer. And I've learned since being here at Loma Linda that there are many different forms of breast cancer, and some are extremely aggressive, and others are not quite as aggressive. But you and your wife apparently realized that there were some other forms of treatment rather than some of the traditional treatments.
Very much so.
Okay, and so what did the two of you decide?
Well, I was watching and waiting at this point. And
Regarding yourself?
right.
Okay.
And then her thing came. They asked her to come down for an annual physical. She went down, got an X-ray back, and they said, "Boy, you got to come in right now. You've got breast cancer, and we want to get this taken care of." And you know, bam, 3 or 4 days later, she's in for surgery. And I thought, boy, don't take even time.
You mean they scheduled her immediately for
Immediately.
surgery? Okay. Well,
And
somebody must have thought, or at least it appeared like they thought it was aggressive.
It was a physician's assistant, and the physician was out of the country at the time, and we thought, little suspect here. But that was our nature, you know. We just said, we're not buying everything everybody says the first time out.
Right.
And so
this was in a neighboring hospital. We don't need to mention which one.
that's right.
Right. Okay.
And so anyway, my wife got scheduled, went in, had it taken care of, and then of course it was radiation. And then when it came...
Now, you say taken care of. Did they do a lumpectomy?
Lumpectomy.
Okay, rather than
Right.
a mastectomy.
That's
okay,
correct.
They did the lumpectomy.
It was just early enough that
Sure.
could be done. And then they found after they had done that they had missed something, and they went back in a second time to get the other spot that they were concerned about. And once that was taken care of, she went through radiation locally in the San Bernardino area. And when she was done with that, the oncologist says, "Come on in, we need to get you started with chemo." And my wife says, "No, thank you."
So in other words, what that particular doctor was suggesting that the lumpectomy followed up with radiation, and then he wanted to follow it up with chemo. Probably, or the doctor wanted to follow it up to make sure, apparently.
Yep.
But you and your wife, and particularly your wife, decided thanks but no thanks.
That's right.
Okay.
And the neat part was we had both been on some immune supplements to boost the immune system.
For both of you.
That's correct. And we had been pretty heavy into that for probably close to a year. So when my wife went in...
Now, was this about the time she was diagnosed?
Yeah,
that both of you,
she'd been on it about a year before the diagnosis.
Oh, good.
So she was building her immune system anyway. So we go in to see the oncologist, and doctor, you know, makes her invitation or demand, and she said, "Well, let's get a blood test to see where we are." She gets the test, and she said, "Based on your results," she said, "we have a threshold of 30 that we allow you to go to, and your number is down at 3. Your number is so low, I don't even need to talk to you for another year."
Wow.
So we were doing something right.
Yeah, whatever it was, you were doing it right.
We were doing
Could have
it
been a
right.
combination of things, but you purposely and intentionally were taking this immune booster that was making a difference, at least for her.
At least for her.
Yeah.
So now it's been, almost 3 years for her, and she's doing just fine.
Oh, that's great.
And I loved it when Loma Linda called and said, "It's time to come see us." And I was at 10 at that point. Well, by the time I got my appointment, got over here, now it was 12.7.
So
And that's where I started.
You're talking about your PSA now.
Yep. And I think it's interesting today as I watch the patients and listen to them. Well, I started with a PSA of 3 or 5, and I'm thinking, wow, they sure changed their theory or the policy of being over 10 before they would talk to you.
Yeah.
So anyway, I kind of laugh at them. Well, mine went down to like 1.5. Well, gee, I started off at 12.7, and today mine's at 0.6.
Okay.
But I came down to 82% on my 4-month, on my 4-month scheduled appointment.
So when you finally came here, and all along you knew you were going to come here to Loma Linda.
No question.
And so finally your PSA rises, then you decide to come in. And how many treatments did you have?
45.
45 treatments. And you completed treatments how long ago?
I finished December 13th, 2007.
Okay, so we're talking about a couple years ago then, a little over 2 years ago.
Let me tell you an interesting story along the way here. One night I'm coming home one late afternoon, and my neighbor comes down and he says, hey Clyde, I'm going to go in the hospital on Tuesday, and I just want to let you know this. Now this is Thursday. He said, I said, going in the hospital for what? He said, I've got prostate cancer. Prostate cancer? I said, so do I. You have prostate cancer? I said, yeah. He said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to Loma Linda. Loma Linda? I said, did you write for their information? Yes, I did. And I said, well, what, did you read it? No. And I said, I think you better read it. I said, got a computer? Nope, don't even own one, don't know how to operate one. I said, listen, Bob, I said, you come over Monday morning. Now, this is Thursday, right? I said, and he's scheduled for Tuesday. I said, Monday morning, I want to see you in my office, sitting in front of my computer until you get so sick and tired of reading testimonials, you finally leave. He canceled with Kaiser that afternoon, and he was over here within a couple of weeks.
Oh, good, and underwent the treatment here.
But he just said, if you're going to go, I might as well follow you. So.
Well, one of the questions I often ask patients is, what difference is having cancer making to you and to your wife? And before you share, I just want to indicate that you're one of those rare individuals that has one of the rare side effects, and I shouldn't say it's all that rare, side effects of undergoing proton therapy, and that's this ability to come back and to come back and to come back and return to the institution. So tell us, what difference has having cancer made to you in your life?
Well, yeah, Lynn, you know what you say, not every week, but almost every week, and that is, think about giving something back. And obviously I'm thinking, gee, what can I give back? What can I give back that would be unique? Everybody else is giving, something, and what can I do? And I think the Lord just spoke to me and said, give back of your time.
Which is a very important resource.
And I thought, something, nobody else is doing that. I found a little niche for me. And I live only 17 miles from the hospital. So I said, I can get through traffic without any problem. I'm going to give back of my time.
So what have you been doing the last 2 years?
I have been coming back twice a week, every week, to potluck and support.
Okay, now tell us what happens on Tuesday night.
Tuesday night is potluck.
That's for the patients that are undergoing treatment.
Patients and wives. And we have a big group. Lately, we've been averaging between 90 and 100.
Okay.
That's a nice sized group. And if you think that's support, you think that's like a support group.
Correct.
It really and truly is just a nice fellowship gathering, having dinner together.
Well, we say that the different activities that we provide for the patients is part of the healing process.
That's right.
There's a social psychological ministry that goes on there, and you're playing a very, very important part of that. So you're helping out on the Tuesday night, and then we also have a Wednesday night educational support group. And Clyde, if I remember correctly, in the 2 years, probably 2.5 years since you finished,
Close.
You have been there almost every single Tuesday and Wednesday night. Yeah. Now, you did ask for permission when you had surgery to be gone for a couple of weeks.
When I had my hip replaced, I was off 2 weeks from potluck.
Well, I was ready to give you 3.
And I think it was about 5 weeks for support.
Right.
But when I went over the first night, when I went back, my wife drove me, and I get upstairs, and I'm standing there, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm getting lightheaded. I'm about to collapse. I thought, I've never passed out in my life, but boy, I almost did. And I said, maybe I'm overdoing it. I'll take another week off.
Well,
So,
tell me and tell the listening audience this matter of giving back and you're giving of your time. And I do kid people that one of the side effects of undergoing proton therapy is the patients want to come back.
the desire to come back.
To the institution. And you know, we got some people coming back here that were here 2 years ago. They underwent treatment, and then they came back a year ago. And there's about 40 of them that are coming back again here in a couple of weeks. But tell us, you know, what kind of a difference is this making to you?
I've got, you know, it took me almost a year and a half, Lynn, before I realized that I had a ministry. And I said, I talked to my pastor at church, and I said, Monty, is this a ministry? He said, you bet that's a ministry. Oh. And I said, I am so thankful that the Lord led me to do this. I said, this is the most fun of all, is that I get to be serving the Lord as well as doing something for other people.
So you're making a contact every Tuesday and every Wednesday with these patients, and I know you're providing a real help and a ministry to them there, but I know you're also making some contact with the people after they leave here.
Oh, I love to call them and kid with them. This is Clyde from Loma, Linda. Oh my gosh. And others, you know, that don't remember, but maybe I let them sit too long. But I'm helping out. I had one group contact me from Idaho last year, in fact, last April. And they said, Clyde, are you still going to potluck and support? Yep. Can we impose on your good nature to help us put together a reunion down there? And I said, you bet you can. So they said, we'd like to get a hotel where we can have a meal and have a gathering of approximately 40 people and have a room where we can have our reunion. So you know, I'm going off the top of my head. I'm in deep trouble. Too high priced at the Mission Inn, too high priced at Marriott. And I said, well, what's around here isn't that great, and I can't go clear to Ontario. And I found a hotel in Redlands and met the people there.
A new hotel?
A new hotel, brand new hotel.
Right.
Only been in operation a couple of months. And it was like, I met some people there that have been the most gracious, loving people. And everybody that I send there, when I got to, Patty asked me, everybody knows Patty, of course. Patty asked me after the reunion, she said, how'd it go, Clyde? I said, it went simply spectacular, Patty. That's all I need to know, Clyde. That's where I'm going to send them for their consult from now on. Right. And so anyway, she's been sending them over to Redlands. And when the people come down, we can't get over how well we were treated at that hotel. So they have been just a godsend to make this a Loma Linda-like team.
Right. And they were here last year, and they're coming in here in a couple more weeks. They're coming back for another reunion.
3 more weeks. We've
right.
got another 40 people coming.
Well.
And I got to announce a couple of weeks ago at Potluck, I said, I had invited Sandy, who is with the hotel, and she asked me every once in a while, Clyde, I haven't been over there for a while. Can I come again? Okay, Sandy. And she always brings food. She's a good potluck person.
Right.
And so she brings her food, and she said, or one of the guys asked me, how come you bring these young girls? And I said, they're my contacts.
That's right.
Hey, I got to say something, right?
That is right. Well, Sandy's been a big, big help.
She really, truly has. And so anyway, working with Sandy and everything, one of the guys said, you know, Clyde, why don't you make an announcement about reunions and challenge other groups to do the same thing? So the next following week, I got up and made an announcement. Hey guys, remember Sandy that I had here last week? I said, she was here because she puts the reunion part of the plan together. And I said, I just challenge you. You guys have got a great group here. Put together a group and have a reunion. And they were just so grateful. 2 days later, 6 of them are having breakfast at the hotel, planning their reunion for next year.
That's great. Well, we have reunions across the country.
That's right.
And this matter of bringing people in and having them come back here for a reunion is extremely important. Bring them back to the institution. They're connected with the institution, maintain that relationship with the institution. And Clyde, what you're doing is an invaluable service, and it is a unique ministry.
Thank
and
you.
I mean, I can go to any particular Wednesday night and I can say, how many know who Clyde is? And 99% of the people raise their hand, and the 1% of the ones, they're just there for the first time. They haven't had an opportunity to get acquainted with you.
Yeah.
So when you're giving back, tell us what this is doing for you. And giving back your time is a very, very important resource.
I know that I'm doing something special. And one lady made a comment to me last week, 2 weeks ago. She said, why don't some of the people come? And she said, you know, those that don't come, Clyde, are missing 75% of this whole program. She said 25% takes place at the hospital. The other 75% is coming to potluck and support and restaurant tour, golf, and everything else. And she said they're missing most of this when they don't come.
Well, it's a very insightful observation, because the people that come to Loma Linda, the treatments are in the gantry for proton or in the gantry of the fixed beam line, but healing is a process. And so much more, and this lady had a very, she was very right on as far as the importance of all the activities that are going on. And you know, I want to say to you, thank you so much for sharing with us here, because people from around the world have heard about Loma Linda, and they're hearing about some of the things that are going on, but you have one of the unique side effects, and that's this desire to come back to the institution in which you are part of. For those that are looking on and listening to Clyde share his experience, Clyde is, again, one of these amazing individuals that have come here for treatment at Loma Linda and then has had a desire to give back, and he's been coming back each and every week. Tuesday night at the potluck and kind of organizing and giving guidance to that, and then on the Wednesday night meeting. For those of you that are looking on, some of you this week may have received some sobering news, and I want to tell you that God has got a plan for you and for your life. Just give him an opportunity. He's waiting to listen to you. He'll open and close doors that his will be made known to you. And again, for our listening audience, I'm Lynn Martell for Journey of Hope. Until next week, goodbye, and God bless you each one. Thank you so much.